Good afternoon. This regular board meeting of the Yakima Regional Clean Air Agency will please come to order. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Holly Cousins.
Here.
Jose Trevino.
Here.
Vicky Baker.
Here.
John Devaney.
Here.
And Steve Jones.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Are there any additions or deletions to today's agenda? Hearing none, we'll move on to public comments. If you wish to address any matter relevant to the business of the board, you may do so now. Please approach the podium stating your name and the item you'd like to speak on, and we do ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Hi there. I'm Sandy Braden, Friends of Topnish Creek. I have a question to Director Hurley, and it concerns an observation I made earlier today about I'd say probably about 20 acres, maybe 25 acres of land off of Washington and 64th. It's due north of what is the work release buildings, what used to be the Tanham View Correctional Complex, that area, and then at a diagonal from this portion of land is a large mobile home park, and there's housing all around. It appears that they have taken the orchard out on that chunk of land, and there are currently some rather huge, what I would consider huge house-sized piles of orchard trees that look like they're getting to be prepared to burn. And I was looking at my information on burn permits and that sort of thing, and it appears that that sort of thing is a land clearing permit. But with that kind of burning, there are certain restrictions, and one of them is a population concern. So I was wondering what Mr. Hurley intends to do about this, if in fact they burn in this area.
I don't know if we have any details on a particular permit that may or may not have been requested yet, but that may be a follow-up item for you after the meeting.
Okay.
I can volunteer information now.
Okay, if you have the information ready.
First of all, let me correct her on an assumption that is wrong. It is not land clearing, so the restrictions for land clearing do not apply. Second of all, there were, in the time I've been there, there's been 2, possibly 3 burns conducted in that area for the exact same reasons. Specifically, the southwest corner of 64th and West Washington, and then the southeast corner of the south side of Washington. They were approved correctly by the last director because it is not land clearing. It is inside the UGA, the urban growth area, okay?
Yeah.
The urban growth area has, by state law, 2 types of burning that are prohibited. One is land clearing, the other is residential. Thus, why we only issue residential burn permits outside the UGA from March 15th to October 15th. So that's one. Second of all, we do not have a complete permit. There's issues with the permit that was given to us. Agricultural burning inside a UGA is permissible. Our job is to identify the risk, mitigate it down to an acceptable level, which we've clearly done with 3 other burns in that same general area, and then to supervise and make sure that those conditions on the burn permit are followed. And in the previous burns in the exact same area, almost the exact same acreage, were followed. Okay? So I'm well aware of the chatter on the internet of the citizens group that lives in the house of being rightfully so concerned about smoke impacting that community. That community, by the way, has expanded a little bit since the other burns, but it's always been there. So it's not the only housing area in that area, by the way. There is a distinct housing area, catty corner right off of 72nd and West Washington. And I myself, when the other 2 burns were conducted, was living in Valley Brook, which was at the end of 72nd and the T-bone of West Washington. So I'm very aware of it. We have a meeting, we will have a meeting with the orchard, the agricultural entity that wants to conduct the burning. I actually had a phone call with the individual yesterday. He's out of town. They're not looking to burn until May, which even makes it even better because one of the control strategies is you must at least let stuff dry at least 30 days prior to burning it. He knows he's going to let it dry until, you do the math, it's 90 or 120 days. But then how they conduct the burn will also identify control measures. And it's not anything that's not been done before, and if supervised correctly and conducted on a day where it's conducive to the burn, there will be no impact to that neighborhood. So we're aware of it, we're on top of it, we're going to do our job, and I don't know what other questions I can answer.
Okay.
What type of permit is going to be used? What type of burn have you identified that as?
It's an agricultural burn.
Agricultural rather than
It's not a
land
land clearing burn.
So you're saying then that that land is going to be replanted with something?
That's correct.
Okie dokie. Thank you very much.
Just like the other 2 plots were replanted.
All right.
Okay?
All right, thank you. Any further public comments at this time? Okay. Moving on to the consent agenda. Have you all had a chance to review the board meeting summary from January and the monthly activity report?
Yes.
If there were no...
I'm sorry, I have not because I didn't get the material.
Oh,
but
that's-
others,
That's right. I should say welcome, Councilwoman Cousins.
Thank you.
Councilman Brad Hill has been appointed as the primary large city representative to this board, with Councilwoman Cousins as the alternate.
yes, and he's traveling back from DC today, so
Yes, we
you are
appreciate-
blessed with my presence.
We appreciate you being here very much.
Thank you.
And you were excused for not having read the entire board packet in advance. But if there were no other questions, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to the regular agenda, Executive Director's report, Mr. Hurley.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair, board members, and the public. Let me first point out that Ms. Pamela Herman is our backup clerk of the board today. She is our certified public records officer as well, so make sure you on your P's and Q's. But anyways, say hello to Mrs. Herman, or Miss Herman. So that's that. So yeah, before you, my my report to the board for the month of February. So I'll just get right into it. And if you have a question on a specific topic today, go ahead and just stop me, and I'll answer the questions. So the first thing is it deals with Ms. Herman had requested a compliance, sort of, I'm calling it this, a compliance assistance visit from Mr. Morgan Damerow, Assistant Attorney General, and Ms. K.P. Bodner, the local government PRA consultant from the State AG's office, for our public records program, because that's probably the greatest risk we have being a small agency, and anything we can do to improve it that comes straight from the State AG's office, those are gold nuggets, and we want to try to implement that. So the visit examined ways to improve our records production capabilities and identify best practices that would fit our agency in an effort to reduce potential liability. As I said earlier, the visit was requested by Ms. Herman. We haven't received the documents. It says, here's where we think you're doing good, here's where we think you can improve. We know for a fact that he's going to slim down our public records request. We are not going to submit that for legal review because Mr. Damerow is an attorney with the State AG's office. There's no point incurring that cost. Furthermore, Ms. Herman reports to me that they were very pleased with our model rules that we wrote about a year and a half ago, if my memory serves me. So we have that going on. Then we had an outreach opportunity while I was out of the office convalescing due to surgery. So we got a last-minute call on January 21st from the Latina Community Fund in Sachamama to present at a workshop that they were conducting for smoke-ready communities. It was held at Nuestra Casa in Sunnyside. Our interpreter and our front office person, Eric Rojas, represented the agency and gave a presentation, and both the English and the Spanish presentation have been attached for your information. And the presentation was titled, How to Be Prepared for Fire Smoke and Bad Air Quality. And the input that I've seen has been very positive, and they were thankful for us doing that. So, moving on, it's an informational thing. Again, you have an attached webpage extract straight off of the EPA website, so I'm not losing anything from interpretation. The EPA announced an updated timeline for furthering the development and release of draft emission estimation methodologies for animal feeding operation emissions. For our longer-term board members, specifically Dr. Jones and Mr. Devaney there, you guys are aware that we've been tracking this for pretty much 10 years. But it's the federal government, and they move at glacier speed. So, the agency had planned to begin releasing, the agency being the EPA had planned to begin releasing the first draft methodologies in January 2020, but is now planning to do so beginning in July 2020. Do not hold your breath or cancel your vacation plans. Between July 20th and July 21, EPA expects to release a series of draft models covering different types of farms and pollutants. EPA is currently analyzing information received as part of the NAME study, which if you go back almost 10 years, they took data from 24 animal feeding sites, a few of which were here in the state of Washington. And so the reason I included this is because there's a possible impact on our resource guide and VMPs for dairy operators. We'll obviously open that up and make any changes that help to better inform dairy operators on areas that they can improve. So moving on to the last thing, I came in for a half a day because I committed to attending it. So I went to the Yakima County Health District to attend the UW Home Air and Agricultural Pediatric Intervention. It's called the HAPPY study. And basically, just to keep it short, because it was actually a pretty short presentation, households in an agricultural community that had diagnosed children or adults with asthma, they wanted to see what effect giving those households HEPA air filter systems would have. And so the outcomes were significantly better with houses that had the HEPA filter versus ones that didn't. To me, that's not real surprising. Having worked in the nuclear field and the asbestos field, we know that HEPA filters out PM 2.5 and smaller particulates. They also looked at ammonia, but because ammonia has a gaseous and a liquid component to it, there was no significant improvement in airborne type of ammonia. So, so those slides are addressed as well, or are attached for information, and subject to your questions, that'll conclude my report.
Were there any questions for Mr. Hurley?
And let me back up, just because I'm a little getting used to being back at work here, but I'm not under any drugs. So, but you do have the monthly data. You do have the monthly data for the air monitoring and the data for the complaints. It was actually a pretty quiet month in January for the complaints, the NOVs and the AODs, and that pretty much concludes my report. I'm sorry for that. Next up.
Mayor Trevino?
I have a question.
Yep.
On your number one, the FOIA or public records request, the visit from the Attorney General's office, this was more of a kind of an audit type
No.
visit, or what?
No, it was a compliance assistance visit, meaning you request them and they come help you.
Okay.
So if they were to identify something that was significant, they'd say, here's how you fix it, no harm, no foul. Yeah.
So, and then, so my next question would be, I guess Ms. Herman, is she able to go to some of the training that's provided for
She's
FOIA
certified
and
through
all?
them, and she
Okay, good.
continuously goes through the training. She's the one that has asked you guys, I think via email, for copies of your recent certifications. So like Ms. Cousins would have been certified through the city. you two would have been certified through the county, and you have to do that, I think, every 3 or 4 years. So it just makes the, process easier for us to just get the certification, a copy of your certification, so we can put it into our records, because we will go through an audit every 2 years, and the next one's coming up a year from now. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, thank you. Moving on to action items, fiscal vouchers and payroll authorization transfers for January of
Yes, let
2020.
me get there. I believe you have before you the fiscal reports for January of 2020. The January 2020 accounts payable and payroll authorizations are enclosed for your approval. The budget verification analysis and supplemental income documents, as usual, is included as informational items. So I'm recommending that you accept and approve amended action the January 2020 fiscal vouchers totaling $122,074.48, and the January payroll authorization totaling $56,905.73.
Is there a motion to approve those?
I move we accept the fiscal vouchers and payroll authorization transfers for January 2020.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. That is approved. Is there any other business before the board at this time?
We have none.
Just as an announcement, I have previously scheduled travel next month, and I will not be here, but my alternate is prepared to attend. So.
And I just have a request. I did not get the packet ahead of time, though I'm an alternate. Can we just add me to that list to get them? So-
Well, the way we do it is the primary is responsible for all of that. What we can do is we can add you to the general email, and then you can either get it from, you can download it from the site, or you can get it from Brad.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Any further business? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is approved. We are adjourned. Thank you very much.
Pass that back.